Everybody, welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm your girl, Coach Crystal, and this is so exciting to be with you tonight. Listen, before we get started, I just want to welcome you into our community. And if you've been joining us or you're a client, you already know what I'm about to say. A lot of things happened before this, and I guarantee a lot of things are going to happen after this, but I promise to be here with you now. Please be here with me now. Listen, the past is filled with regret. Future has a lot of anxiety, but your powerful place is right here in the now. And we are so excited that you're here tonight. Before I welcome our special guest to our platform tonight, I just want to make sure that everyone here knows that you are welcome here. This is Wisdom Wednesdays. This is a time for us to have some candid conversations. And the disclaimer tonight is that I'm going to be talking to Coach Dre. And Coach Dre and I are both from the South. He's actually from the same place my daddy was from. So if I have to translate some of the vernacular tonight, I'm happy to do that. If all of a sudden it get into a lot of you listen, just catch the comments. We'll make it happen for you. Okay. The goal is for you to not leave here confused. The goal is for you to leave here inspired and ready to take the next active step to the next stage of your life and development. So be here with us now. There are questions, comments, concerns. Feel free to drop those in the chat in any platform that you're on. And if you have not yet gotten your ticket to the most transformational, epic event coming in the next month or so, it is Vision Camp. And you need to jump over right now and get your ticket to ssvisioncamp.com. We're going to have some VIP options for you as well. But the main thing is to do it now, get your ticket, and not put it off. Don't procrastinate. So tonight we're talking to Coach Dre, who there's a lot I could say, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to tell you so much about himself that you're going to get a good feel for who he is. But I admire this gentleman because he's one of the most self-possessed people I have had the opportunity to meet. And you know how big I am on like really being yourself. Like I can be me. I can be the professor me. I can be the artist me. I can be the coach me. I can be the mom me. And I might have to say some things in different ways, but it's still all me. And so Coach Dre is one of those people who I admire because every time he steps in the room, there is no doubt who you are speaking to. So, Coach Dre, welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays.
Hey, what up? What up? What up? I'm so happy to be here, bro. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. You know, I'm in a different office. I'm in my dad's office right now, so I'm trying to get myself situated. But we good.
So we might get like 2 generations of the wisdom tonight.
Okay. Well, if he get up here, he gonna preach, and I'm gonna move out the way.
Hey, if the spirit calls him, tell him to get on the mic. Give him
for
another
sure. I'll make sure I do that.
Coach Dre, in your own words, tell the people who you are.
Excellent. So at the end of the day, I am Aundrae Gaskin, father, right, son, nephew, grandson, right, and in this business space, in these business streets, right, they call me Coach Dre, the King of Increase. Basically, what I do is I help people overcome their barriers so they can make more money in their business, increase their income while decreasing their workload.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, I mean, we might get into some pretty, transparent conversations here tonight, but we asked you here to talk a little bit about taking risk. And we're going to get into another conversation, which is the second tier of that, right? Which is like imposter syndrome after you jump off the building. But I just want to be super transparent here, right? And just say, y'all, I don't bring anyone on this platform that I don't know and who doesn't know me. And I haven't known, for a long period of time, Aundrae Gaskin and I have not been in the same space, but it doesn't take that long for real to recognize real. And so let me just be clear that the first reality check that Aundrae Gaskin gave me was me saying, well, I just don't know if I can build this business and be a good mom. And I think he probably just didn't even blink and was like, you don't think you can do both? Right. And so I just want to be clear that this is not like me acting as if we know we have all the answers, but iron sharpens iron. So, Aundrae, in your practice, in your growth, what's been maybe one of the things that someone has challenged you with the similar way that you challenge your clients?
Oh, that's good. I would say the biggest thing is like one of my close friends, my brother, my partner in Impact. You know him really well, Marquell Russell, right?
But you know he's fun. We're gonna get you on, Marquell. We don't be jealous.
Yeah, we definitely gonna get you. Yeah, the fact that you had me on before him, you know it's gonna be problems, right?
We coming. We calendars, all that kind of stuff.
You may be blocked from the members area come tomorrow, but anyway, founder and co-founder of Client Attraction, my best friend, my partner in Impact, my brother from another mother, Mr. Marquell Russell, challenged me to always make sure that I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid, right? Mm-hmm. And so not drinking my own Kool-Aid from the aspect of believing in my own hype, right? Yeah. But making sure what I say is congruent to how I live, right? Mm-hmm. And in the business world, that aligned with something that my grandfather always taught me. My grandfather from a long line of pastors. My grandfather's a pastor. My daddy's a pastor. My auntie's a pastor. A whole bunch of preachers in my family. And their thing is, you know, from the spiritual space, when you're preaching a sermon, when a pastor is preaching a sermon, they're preaching to themselves before they're preaching to the congregation. Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. So always being aware of where I am in my own journey. Yeah. Right. And how I can take the lessons that I'm learning in my own journey, not only to be empathetic to individuals and understand where they're coming from, but also be able to speak to the greater in them so that they can get past where they're going. Right. Mm-hmm. So really just being aware and like I said, drinking your own Kool-Aid, not believing your hype, but believing in what you say from a point where this works, not just because I'm saying it works. It works because I've been in the position, I've used it to help me, and therefore I'm going to use it to help you as well.
No, that's good, Dre, because, you know, in conjunction with being in a global pandemic, we've also been in an infodemic. Mm. So people can't really tell the difference between people who have information and people who have understanding. Mm. Right. And so what you're talking about is a level of integrity that comes only when you have understanding. Right. Right. And so you can't teach someone that, you know, one of the signs on my door says understanding comes after experience. I can't teach you anything if I haven't done anything.
Right. You know, the crazy thing is, though, most people in our, we ain't gonna do it right now. We're like, it's the first 10 minutes. We ain't gonna do
bless their heart. Bless their heart. Right.
The thing is, like, that's why it's so important to not only drink your own Kool-Aid, but like that drinking your own Kool-Aid comes from a place of awareness, right? Yeah. When you are aware, you understand where you are. Right. Mm-hmm. You understand the problems that you're facing and you're exercising discernment in order to find the people that can speak to those problems and assist you, not save you. Right. Not save you, but assist you. Right. If you're drowning in a pool and I throw the life preserver out to you, you put the life preserver on, but you also got to still kick a little bit in order to get to the edge of the pool. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So being able to have that awareness to understand where you are in the moment, but also have that same discernment to be able to understand who can actually help you. Because everybody that's saying, hey, I can help, can't help because they ain't really helped themselves the way they trying to help you, but we'll get to that in a minute.
We didn't even bring an offering plate, so I'm not going. Right? Okay, no, let's get into it, because one of the things that you and I talk about a lot, like even, you know, so first of all, y'all, Aundrae does not ask for my feedback. I mean, but as somebody who, you know, has lived on stage for a long time, every time he get off stage and I'm there, I'm like, listen, and he'd be like, okay. I got like, I'm back in the back taking Google notes, like, yeah, right. And so the thing that is clear to me about that connection is that there's a level of saturation in a particular topic or gifting that then allows you to make connections to the need in the room. Right. And that level of awareness coming from my background as a dancer and some of the people who are watching, What we call that is the ability to improvise, right? And so improvisation is that intersection where everything you know meets everything that's necessary in the moment and something new is created, right? So talk to us a little bit, Dre, about the risk that you often take standing in front of crowds of people, right? And allowing that intersection to be that transparent.
The risk. I think the biggest risk is vulnerability, right? Many times I say on a stage, any stage, right? I let people know, like, hey, right now, these ain't notes that I took, right? I'm not getting ready to show you a slideshow, right? What I've done up until the point where I got in front of you is I've stood behind you, right? I've watched you operate in this room. I've heard what your problems are. I've heard what your challenges are. And right now, standing in front of you, I'm operating from a place of not just transparency, not just vulnerability, but surrender, right? Meaning that up until this point, I know that the Lord has prepared me for this moment in time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what these people need to hear exactly. I don't know the troubles that they are going through at home or in their business or in their lives or with their children or with their relationships. But I know that you have equipped me with enough to be able to speak to them based on what you know about them. Right. So I'm not going to operate from my own understanding. I'm going to operate from your understanding of your people and your understanding of me and your understanding of my ability to connect and communicate with them. Right. The risk that you take is not being like everybody else. Right.
Yeah.
And so y'all may see me on this show right now, but you're not going to see me on a whole bunch of your favorite influencer stages, right? You're not going to see me on a lot of these different platforms. The Lord had to put me in a place where I could create my own platforms to say my own truth and give people the truth, right? So that's the risk you take. The risk you take is not being popular. The good thing is I was popular in high school.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
The good thing is my squad goals were already met. So
right. The good thing is I had friends coming into this thing, right? So I think when it comes to risk and how you look at risk, right? The biggest risk in being vulnerable, being transparent, operating from a place of surrender is understanding that you're not going to fit in. You're not going to be the in crowd.
Right.
But if you continue to operate in that, if you continue to move in that, you'll create your own crowd, own crowd that moves a different way, that speaks a different way, that impacts in a different way, that transforms in a different way. And so I believe that has been one of the greatest risks that I've taken in business, in life, is just, operating from the place of surrender. Like, Lord, whatever you know these people need at this particular time, have me say that, right? Like the church folks say, hide me behind the cross. Don't let them see me, but let them see you operating through me, right? And through that, like I said, I'm not in the in crowd, but I definitely got my own crowd that I think ride with me pretty hard.
Yeah, most definitely, right? And so couple of things you said that are key here. One is surrender. And two is the risk of isolation, right? Because sometimes we don't actually understand the difference between isolation and insulation. Right. So we could get set apart. I mean, people joke. I mean, in our little circle, people joke all the time. Crystal, where do you live? Why would you, right? Why do you live in Vermont? Like all of these things, right? But when that move happened, when I was set apart for a different vision, it wasn't even what I expected, right? And so the risk we take in saying no to that is actually the risk of losing who we are. And I feel like that's much more of a risk than not having, friends.
Right. And it's like, which one do you choose? Right. Which one do you choose? Like, and what I found that's probably been more impactful than the revenue or the income or even the impact of others is, like you said, my true self, right? I am a habitual against the grain goal, right?
No.
When
No.
when everybody's zigging, I'm trying to find a way to zag, right? Right? Like people say, compare apples to oranges. I don't want to be the orange or the apple. I want to be a whole different. I don't want to be a vegetable or a fruit.
Yeah.
I want to be
Right.
like comparing apples, oranges, and Teslas. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be completely different because when you're completely different, it may take longer for people to gravitate to you, but once they gravitate to you, they understand you are their person because you're not moving like everybody else. You're speaking a whole different language than everyone else in your space, right? You're moving a whole different way than everyone else in your space. And being in alignment with that and having the ability to not just be impactful based on your words, but be impactful based on your life. Right.
Yeah.
And finding out what you're really proud of. What I'm proud of is no matter whether you're talking to Coach Crystal, whether you're talking to one of my children, whether you're talking to a third grade teacher that I had, whether you're talking to my best friend since high school, whatever the case may be, everyone is going to describe the same Aundrae, whether it's on the internet, off the internet, family situations, business situations. I'm the same individual. And I believe that is what really grows your net worth, right?
Yeah.
It's showing your worthiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And for the people here who might be like, well, I don't have a business. Your life is your business.
Your life is your business.
Your life is your business. The way that you put yourself into the world, the way that you determine the character that you operate through, that's your business, right? That's the product that is either attracting the things you need or keeping you from getting the resources, opportunities, circumstances to change in your life. You are your business. Now, we're going to get the thing, Dre, which is, you and I, this next part, we could talk about this all night. We're going to get the thing of like, well, I took a risk, or like, I've been doing this thing and I just don't feel like it's me. I mean, I just feel like I'm an imposter. Right. And so then we have this rampant diagnosis of imposter syndrome, right?
Self-diagnosis.
Self-diagnosed imposter syndrome. And I've heard you speak about it before. Just give our audience a little bit about your perspective on imposter syndrome.
Right. So when you think about imposter syndrome, right? When you think about imposter syndrome is basically behaving in a way that you don't feel is congruent to who you really are. Right? Whether that's in business, whether that's in relationships and life or whatever. Basically, you feel as if you're behaving as a representative of yourself instead of your true self. Right. And just to give a little bit more context, most of the people that diagnose themselves or allow others to diagnose them with imposter syndrome are typically incredibly educated.
Yeah.
They typically have an expertise that they've been practicing for a while. Right. And they have been challenged to take that education or that expertise and do something a little bit different than what they were taught to do with that education and expertise. Right. And so that newness makes them believe that they need more qualifications, more certifications, more expertise, more knowledge, more education in order to be qualified to display the talents that they already have. Right. And when they have trouble with that, it is called imposter syndrome, right? But there's a show. I always give an example. There's a show called American Greed, right? And if you heard this show, it comes on A&E. I think it comes on Hulu now, so you can stream it. But basically, American Greed is a show that basically does exposés of individuals that are actual imposters, right? And the stories you typically hear on American Greed are imposters that have basically ruined a real profession. So I'll give you an example. Someone posing as a wealth strategist, right? Or an investment professional, right? So they're convincing all these old people, or they're convincing these people that, hey, I'll be able to take your life savings and make sure that not only you are financially stable, but generations to come will be financially stable. Right. But these individuals posing as this or posing in this profession actually know that they don't have the expertise to deliver on what they're promising, which would make them, by definition, an imposter. Right?
Correct.
But one of the things, in order to actually be an imposter, think about if you are actually someone that is promising that you can get a result that you know you cannot deliver on.
Correct.
Right? What type of confidence do you believe that takes in order to promise something you know you can't deliver on?
Yes.
Right? So what I always tell people is imposters don't have imposter syndrome.
No.
Imposters know that they cannot deliver on what they're promising. However, they promise it anyway with conviction, with confidence, right? And you feel totally okay with handing over hundreds of thousands of dollars to this person that has made you feel as if they are competent enough to do what they promised they would do, right?
Correct.
But here you are with all the education, all the knowledge, all the accolades, all the the stick-to-itiveness. You've done exactly what you say you're gonna do, but you feel as if you can't deliver on what you promised just because you have to learn a new skill set in order to properly deliver it, right? That doesn't make you an imposter, though.
Not at all.
That makes improvement. When you feel like imposters don't improve.
No, they stick to the script.
They stick to the script. Like what works, they continue to work it, right?
Yes.
But a individual that is focused on improvement, like us, right? We tend to label ourselves with things that don't even apply to us, just simply because we've heard the term before, right? So always remember, imposters don't have imposter syndrome. Imposters have the same thing you should have: confidence. Conviction, because you're competent, right? When you're competent, you should be able to express the value that you bring to the marketplace, to a relationship, to your finances, to your company, with whatever, with conviction and with confidence, because you're competent.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I hope that cleared it up for some people. I just want to be clear. Like a lot of my clients, I see them get to this place where there's a edge, and to get past the edge, they need to skill up. And instead of going past the edge, they go back and question every decision they've made up until that moment. Right. And then they go, well, I think I have imposter syndrome. No, you have a vision for who you're becoming, and it's waiting on you to step into it. Right. You're not imposing anything except for a limiting belief right now on the capacity of your gift. Right. Like
that's it.
It takes so much work to be an imposter. That's a whole lot of other work. You're not certified in there.
Right.
You're not. Let's be clear.
Right. You're not certified in lying and covering up the lie with another lie, and covering up another lie with another lie. Like that's not who you are. Right.
It's not who you are.
It's not who you are. But oftentimes we label ourselves with self-imposed or we give ourselves self-imposed limitations based off of what we've heard from someone else, right? So back in the day, imposter syndrome wasn't even a thing.
No.
Entrepreneurs in the online business space made imposter syndrome a thing. And so people they sell you ebooks on how to overcome imposter syndrome. They have whole webinars on imposter syndrome. It's whole trainings on imposter syndrome. And here's the thing, everybody on the webinar, on the training, buying the ebook is not an imposter. They're just someone that is challenged with a level of improvement that they don't feel like they can attain. That's it.
Exactly. And this hits me hard, Dre, because, as someone who has been in the field of education for so many years, right? Like, kindergarten, high school, teaching artists, up into being a tenured professor, I have to really kind of get people to understand that even though I've been in this system of education, I don't think it's full circle here, right? It's not answering all the questions.
Right.
And it's layering in this insecurity platform that says, if you're not doing this in a linear fashion, you're not doing it right. And if you're not doing it right, then how could you be doing it well? And if you're not doing it well, then how can you be worth it? Right. And we get right back to that question of like self-worth. We get right back to that question of integrity. And we get right back to the essential process of all this, which is becoming you, not the thing that people are expecting of you.
Right.
So then the risk, I think, for most people becomes, if I do something different, am I going to have the same amount of security?
Right.
Am I going to have the same amount of support? Am I going to be able to finish? Like, what is it going to be successful? Right. So those risks, I think, are always tied up in there. But I mean, we know that
or being judged.
Yes.
Right. People hate to be judged. Like people feel uncomfortable with being judged. Like, oh, I don't want to be judged. What? Like you're being judged every day, right?
You're judging you.
Right. You're judging you. And here's the thing, judging. Like, I know you're a scholar of the English language, right?
No, okay. So I do. I love
yes,
words.
you are. Yes, you are. You're right. Yeah. You love words, right? Like, and we share that, right? But it's like when you get older, you understand that some of the things that had a negative connotation are actually not negative when you look at them from a different perspective, right? Like we were brought up, especially us that look like us. Don't you quit. Don't ever quit. Nothing ever came to a person that quit. Really? People quit smoking all the time and they extend their lives.
Right.
Right? People quit dealing with that abusive relationship and they end up living a little bit longer without bruises all over their body or emotional trauma, right? People quit eating the wrong food so that they can lose weight, right? Quitting isn't always a bad thing, right?
No.
Judgment isn't always a bad thing. Judgment is taking the facts that you are given. This is what judgment really is, right? Judgment is taking the facts, right? Like judgment is taking the facts that you are given and then making a decision between X or Y based off the facts. That is judgment. You judge every day, right? You judge every day. That's not always a good thing. I mean, that's not always a bad thing.
No.
Right? Like judgment is what got you in the place that you are, good, bad, or indifferent. Right. Judgment is what got you in the place that you are. You pass judgment when you decide to not date this young lady, but to actually pursue this young lady. Right? You pass judgment when you decide not to pay that brother no attention at Starbucks, but you pay the brother some attention at Dillard's in the polo section. right?
Right.
Like we make judgments all the time. You made a judgment between the Nissan Sentra and the Ford Explorer, right? Like we make judgments all the time. We make judgments on whether we want to eat chicken or whether we want to eat raw vegan, right? We make judgments all the time.
All the time. Right.
We make judgments all the time.
The thing here, Dre, and I know, I mean, of course, I'm going to say this right because I'm the vision coach, but we mix up facts and feelings because we don't have a trajectory set in the first place.
No,
right. So our judgment mixed up with our emotions. Our emotions start to tell us how we feel, and then we can't really justify it with anything else. So we throw more feelings on the fire. The fire gets bigger. Before we know it, we're burnt out on either just thinking about which choice to make, what they're going to think about us, and then we end up stuck doing absolutely nothing. And then all the risk, all those like worst case scenarios, those risk analysis that have been going on in our head actually begin to feel like facts. And they're not.
We fool ourselves. We fool ourselves into making a lie a truth a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're good at that. Right? We're good at that.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's what we do. We've been conditioned to do it, right? We've been conditioned to just like, well, this is the fact. Because I'm from the projects, I'm never gonna be out the projects.
Right.
Not considering that probably at least 35% of the NBA, NFL, Black politicians, Black entrepreneurs, whatever the case may be, came from adverse, poverty-stricken circumstances.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it's like, but based on where you are, or based on what you've learned, you won't allow yourself to unlearn that, so you can relearn what all the possibilities are.
Right.
LeBron James had somebody in his hood that was probably just as good as him, but they felt like they were never gonna get out of the projects.
Right. And they didn't have, I mean, right. And we can go back and try to rationalize the conditions, but these are invisible fences. These are invisible fences. It's not just about where you were raised, it's not about geography, it's not about education. These are invisible, internalized fences where I think about it a lot, Dre, in terms of, both of us being from the South, but we just celebrated Juneteenth, right? And it was Juneteenth is like when the word got to the people in Texas, right?
Right.
So we're really talking about people holding themselves captive.
Right.
And that happens mentally, emotionally, physically every single day. You wake up, you look at your bank account, you're like, there's no way. Right? The circumstance, the situation, the condition feels like it has more power than you do. And then the risk seems unbearable.
Right. And that's what Harriet was telling us, right? Yeah. I freed thousands of slaves, but I would have freed thousands more if only they knew they were slaves. If only they knew they were captive, right? If only they knew. And she's not talking about knew that they were slaves, like living on a plantation and submitting to master's will. That's not what she's talking about.
Right.
They didn't understand that because of what they grew up in, because of their conditioning, they made themselves believe that they weren't free.
Correct.
Right?
No matter where they
made themselves right.
No matter where they were.
Right. Exactly. But guess what? We still live in that same type of place. Like many of us are physically free and mentally captive all at the same time.
All at the same time, right? And that is that's the byproduct of what we call racism, but it affects everyone. Right? Because now people are enslaved through poverty. People are enslaved through education. People are enslaved through relationships. People are enslaved through self-doubt. Like we continue to put out these very similar invisible fences, and people hold themselves back without having ever to be told or put in their place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree. It's crazy. It's crazy we live in this world. It's 2022. Yeah. And we are still living by some of the same limitations as our ancestors in the 30s, in the 20s, in the 1800s. Like we're still living. Yeah, we're still living under that same type of bondage. We're just pretending to be free, right? That's why you got to educate yourself.
Okay, even the pretending to be free, Dre, is like the manufactured version of freedom.
Right.
Freedom now means I can do this, this, and this, but it's still a list of limiting activities. Self-care means I do this, this, and this, right? Like success means I'm this, this, and this, but all of it's still limitations, and we're not looking at true liberation here.
Right. The only time in my mind, right? So I ain't even gonna put this on nobody else, but if you want to wear it, you can feel free to wear it, right?
Right.
In my mind, freedom is living a life that is not confined by limitations that you set for yourself. That's freedom.
Yeah.
Right? Like it don't nobody else's opinion matters.
Right.
Right? Nobody else's feelings matter. That don't mean be nasty to people, right?
No.
That don't mean be, rude. That don't mean give everybody your behind the kiss. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you are not restrained or constrained by any thoughts that are opposite of what you believe you can achieve, right? So whatever it is you want to do, never does it enter into your mind, okay, I can't do that because. To me, that is freedom.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
I think you're right.
Freedom is within you. Freedom is internal. It's not external.
No. And it can't be quantified externally. That's the thing. We keep trying to quantify if our freedom is enough for the world to recognize. They don't have to recognize it.
Right. That's just like the whole equal rights thing. Oh, that ain't even what we talk about. But
okay, we're sorry, y'all. But listen, I mean, we just wanted you to understand, like, we could be on here all night. Okay.
Yeah, we could.
Lauren Bouncer, I see you in the chat. We're sorry we stepped on your toes. Kathleen, yes, mental slavery. We're gonna free it, right? We didn't have the Bob Marley in the background, but yes, right. Like anybody who wants to jump in and ask any questions, we're not gonna hold Coach Dre here all night, even though it would be fun. But
I rock with it too.
Right, we're having a good time. Any questions you have, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If you're just joining us and you don't know about Vision Camp, please jump over to ssvisioncamp.com, grab your tickets. I promise you it will be one of the most in-depth, tactile events you have ever been to. You will not leave empty-handed, and you will not leave with information that doesn't have any application in your life. So we're going to jump back in because taking risk is part of this. Some of you took a risk and logged on tonight. You don't know who I am. You might not know who Coach Dre is, but something that you're hearing is actually resonating with something that you're becoming. And it might feel uncomfortable. It might have been so uncomfortable that you already logged off and logged back on. But this is what the process of growth feels like. There is a discomfort. The only way to grow is to turn your discomfort into inquiry. The only way to get better is to ask a better question, because the quality of your life is determined by your questions, not your assets, not your intelligence, not your degrees, not your certifications. No one can certify you in you. So the best question is, who am I? Right? And so when we're talking about tonight, taking risk, the risks are really about to find that other part of ourselves that we haven't discovered yet and invest in it enough to understand it fully. Like, the real pursuit of wealth is to have enough capacity to know all your parts.
Absolutely.
Right. And so when we're talking about imposter syndrome and taking risk, we're really just saying, how courageous can you be to know who you are? And once you know that person, how comfortable and how much effort can you give that identity in the world, in your own skin, in your own mind, in your own pathway? I mean, Coach Dre, if no one has any questions, what could we tell them right now that might be the pivotal statement? At least for right now, because we could do this all night. But what could be, right?
Right. So I got a story for you. So there once was like a woman. A woman was sitting in the living room, her kids were around. She had 2 young boys. Her kids were around her, and they were like, "Mom, how do you hear from God? Right? How do you hear from God?" And she thought about it for a minute, and she turned up the TV. Right. And then they're looking at her crazy because mama never turns up the TV, right? She don't like noise, right? So she turned up the TV, right? And then she said, "Hey, are those basketballs that I bought y'all for Christmas? Are those still upstairs?" And they were like, "Yeah." She's like, "Go ahead, run upstairs and grab them." So they went up, they grabbed the basketballs, they came back downstairs. She said, "Okay, dribble them in the living room." They looking like, "What?" So they dribbled them in. Yeah, they dribbling the ball in the living room, right? And she turns on the radio, right? Then she goes to the back of the house and she stands like right in the doorway, right before you go to the backyard, right? And then she called her husband and she told her husband to stand in the front of the house, right? And she whispered in his ear some instructions, right? And the kids, so they looking around at all this happening, right? And she said, "Okay," so she's standing at the back end of the house. Her husband's standing at the front end of the house, kind of moving his mouth, but nobody knows what she's saying because the TV's up, right? And the radio's on, and the kids are dribbling the basketball, right? And then she asked her grandfather, she said, she whispered in his ear too. So grandfather starts kind of, as she is standing on one side of the house, her husband is standing on the front side of the house, kind of moving his mouth, but nobody knows what he's saying. Granddaddy starts to kind of like turn down the television, right? Till the television goes off. Turn down the radio until the radio goes off. Ask the kids to stop dribbling the basketball, right? And as all of this sound starts to dissipate and starts to go away, the kids can hear dad telling mom to come to me, right? So in that story, what she explained to the kids, because the kids are still clueless. They don't know what they just experienced, but they do enjoy the fact that they were able to dribble the basketballs in the house, right? And so what mom explained, she was like, "So you heard what your dad was saying, right?" And they said, "Yeah." They said, "Dad was saying, come to me." She's like, "That's exactly what God is telling us, right? But you don't hear God because you have so much other noise, so many other distractions, so many other things taking your attention. And until you shut those things off, right, you will never hear what is really being said to you." I said that story because that is the same thing that we need to do. A lot of times we can't hear the God within us, that demigod within us, right? Because we all are descendants of God, which makes us demigods, right? Small g, not big G, right? But just as God was able to create, we're able to create. Just as God has dominion, we have dominion. Just as God is able to speak to chaos and make it into something that nourishes people for generations to come, we have that same ability. The difference between us, little g gods, and big God is the fact that God was able to quiet things on command. And that is a challenge that we have. Once you learn to quiet everything around you, right? And really listen to what is being spoken to you internally from the inside to the outside, right? Because we all have to transform internally in order to manifest what we want externally. How does that happen? That happens by quieting the distractions, by limiting the noise, and allowing ourselves to literally go inward and listen to what is being said on the inside of us, so we can start to make things real on the outside of us. Does that answer the question?
So good, right? Because it basically speaks back to you can't consume everything.
Mm-mm.
Right. And the more that you take in, the more you bury that voice that's yours underneath all these other
voices.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Actions.
Right. All these other voices. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a hard time getting back to that. I tell people all the time, I'm actually excavating vision because it's the first thing you came here with.
Right.
There's
Right.
something you can see way before. This is not, I'm not telling you who to be. I can't tell you who to be. I can't tell you how to make a life. I can only ask you the questions that get you back to who you are. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, Kathleen, we got two questions. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say so many people have a problem with vision, just like we hear in the word, right? Write the vision and make it plain. Well, you can't make it plain because it's not plain to you. Why is it not plain to you? Because you're still operating in so much noise, right? Making the vision plain is easy to do once it's plain to you, right? But you can't hear the vision plainly if you got a whole bunch of noise in the background, right? Auxiliary noise, right? It ain't even pertinent noise. It's just auxiliary noise.
Instead of listening to the vision, you listening to the backup plan. You listening to the side hustle. You listening to the other people's failures. You gotta listen to you.
Right. Right.
Kathleen, Coach Dre, Kathleen said, how does your child interpret your work? Ooh, there's a good story about this. Go ahead. Tell about Armand sitting in the hallway.
How does my child interpret my work? So Armand is at a place where I really he really believes like I'm like his hero. Like he really believes that like I saved the world. Right. So just a few months ago, so my children have why it's not just about my work now, it's about the work that they saw me do as an individual. Right. So I like that's a very good question and like a super pertinent question. However, it is solely because of what they saw, right? The person I am now, I have become over the course of just a few short years, right? Just a few short years ago, I was literally homeless, living in a hotel bathroom, about to kill myself with a pistol that I bought donating plasma. Just a few short years ago.
Yeah.
Right. My children saw me. Well, first of all, my children heard me arguing with their mothers about how I was $14,000 in arrears and child support. My children have seen me be arrested and put in police cars. They have been at the jailhouse when I've been picked up. My children have seen me live a life. So just a few weeks ago, my son, while I was recording some stuff for a project that I'm working on, was sitting in the hallway in my house while I was recording these videos in absolute awe. And when I got done,
are you saying the important part here? He left his game. He turned the game down. He quit playing the game.
I was getting ready to say that. So he was playing the Xbox. He was playing Xbox. My son loves games, right? He wants to create games, right? So we kind of work with that. And he literally stopped playing the game. He took the game first from the living room to the bedroom. So he was playing it in the bedroom. And then he came from the bedroom, stopped the game and sat in the hallway, right? And watched me kind of talk about what I was talking about. And afterwards, he was like, Daddy, I'm proud of you, right? So to me, it's not like what I've created and how my children feel about it. My children understand that Daddy is who he is now based off a journey that he took. And so I'm proud of the fact that my children were able to see me live out loud, make my own mistakes. I don't hide things from them. Just yesterday, I did my whole therapy session right in front of them, right? Like I always live my life out loud. And I think that is what makes them feel the way they do about the work I do now, because they know where Daddy was.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense, but it's so key to the integrity piece and not being an imposter because, well, Gabe, you've met my son, right? Like me and Gabe have conversations.
Gabe.
Right. Me and Gabe have conversations that most people don't have with 12-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? And
Gabe is a grown man, though.
Gabe, right, but like I think when you're honest about being human with your children, right, it makes you even more of a hero because it still feels like they're capable of it too, right? Like even with our clients, like we're not gurus on the hill. We just got some experiences that we can help you, navigate through that. Maybe you don't have to do it the hard way.
Right.
And
that's the dope thing about being a coach. Yeah. Right. That's the dope thing about being a coach.
Right. Exactly. Medea says, how do you balance multiple roles at work without infringing your individuality? Now, Medea, I'm going to just say, look, the work, it depends on what you do for work, but, I really believe that there's something about who you are that aligns with every piece of work you do. So your individuality should shine through that, right? Like there's a part of you that can be a genius at even fixing the copier if it's something you love, right? So sometimes the identity piece that shows up at work is not because the actual environment is asking us to quiet ourselves. It's because we've put that limitation on ourselves to compartmentalize our lives, our gifts, and our thinking into workplace, home place, love place scenarios without allowing that integration to really be powerful.
Right. And just to piggyback on that, like absolute authenticity in everything you do. Right. Yeah. I don't believe that there is a balance. Right. I actually believe that there's intentional imbalance depending on what you're balancing. Right. Yeah. So in my life, I know that there could be a balance between who I really am and who society wants me to be. So on purpose and intentionally, I want to make sure those scales are always tipped to Aundrae being Aundrae no matter where it is, right? As a parent, as a professional, in my relationships, whether they be, romantic relationships or, interpersonal, whatever the relationship is, just absolutely operating as the true version of yourself. To me, that is the most important thing when it comes to any role you play in life, is just being you, showing up as you, and being like not only being you unapologetically, but like without reservation. Right. I only don't apologize for who I am, but I'm not gonna hold back who I am just because of you or how you may perceive me.
Yeah. No, I think that's real. It gets right back to what we were talking about in the beginning about confidence, competency, right? Being able to own who you are, right? Like, I mean, that's really the goal of this life, y'all. You can't leave here with gas in the tank, wishing shoulda, wouldas, or coulda. Stop shooting on yourself and take action, right? Be who you are. Right? I don't cuss, but I like to use words.
I almost thought I heard one. I was like, okay, Coach Crystal, wait.
Look, I try to keep it PG, but don't shoot on yourself. You know what
I'm saying? Like, I love that. Don't shoot all over yourself.
Right. The world does enough of that for you. Like your job is to stay clear in your confidence and clarity. Y'all, listen, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I know I have. Coach Dre, we just want to thank you for pouring into the Steps and Stages community, and thank you for all you do for so many people. Your life is a testament to what it means to not just go, but to grow and develop others with your gift. And the people that you touch are blessed for. I just, and tell your daddy too. Thank you for letting you use his office. Listen, I'm gonna tell you one more time. If you haven't gotten your ticket to Vision Camp, jump over to ssvisioncamp.com right now. You will not regret it, and it will be one of the most transformative processes you've ever been through. I guarantee it. If you're not transformed, you can have your ticket money back.
Hey, Crystal, can I say something real quick?
Please.
So I'm not sure who is on this, stream right now, right? I don't know if y'all have known Crystal for a little bit of time or whether you've known Crystal for a long time. I don't know what the situation is. I also don't know if you're sitting right now kind of contemplating as you're looking at the website for SS Vision Camp, right? I don't know if you're thinking about, okay, should I make this investment? Should I not make this investment? I'll tell you this. If you are an individual that truly wants to connect with someone that not only has a pathway on how to create a compelling vision that drives you, propels you, is the catalyst for what you want to achieve in your life, the best decision you can make is lock arms with an individual that is doing the work, right? I've been in rooms with this young lady who has poured her heart out, mostly to me, right, about where she is in her life, right? The limitations that she has experienced, overcoming those limitations and those barriers. And so when you're doing personal work and you're looking for someone to be a guide in that journey to help you with that personal work, you definitely want to lock arms with someone that you know is doing the work as well. And Crystal is not just one of the most genuine women I know, one of the most genuine people I know, right? But she is always looking to purge herself of any impurities, right? So she can be pure enough to pour into the people that she is called to pour into and called to impart in. So if you're on the fence, make sure, like, don't think about it, don't contemplate it. Click the link. Make the steps, you take the steps in order to get the vision camp. And I promise you, your life, your business, your relationships, your finances, your vision, future you will thank you for that investment. Go ahead and take that step.
Hey, thank you, Dre. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. Listen, this is Steps and Stages. This is Wisdom Wednesdays. We'll be back next week, and we hope to see you there. But make sure you get your ticket to Vision Camp because bottom line is you're worth it. It's the bottom line, y'all. You're worth it. We'll see you soon. Have an amazing night.